Hello, I'm here to show you how to make your own basic folded card and envelope using Inkscape, which then can be saved and uploaded to Cricut Design Space, or you can save it as a PDF that can be printed out and cut and folded by hand. This is a great basic card template to work off of for whatever occasion or craft that you would like to do. And I'm going to show you how to make a card that's 4.75 by 4.75. But you can use these directions to make any card size that you would want. Just alter the measurements for whatever your needs are. So to start, I like to first go to the document properties and make sure that the display units and the units down here are in inches, and that scale X is 1. And now I can start by going to the left and hit the Create Rectangle or Square. Hit the Select tool on the left, and now you can change at the top the X and Y coordinates as well as the width and the height of the rectangle. And my height's going to be 4.75, and now the width of my card, the final card is going to be 4.75, but since it's going to be folded, I'm going to double the final width of my card. So it'll be 4.75 times 2, and that will be 9.5. And then I would change the X and Y coordinates both to 0. This will push the rectangle to the bottom left corner of the page. So this will be the card, and now we'll make the score line using this pen tool on the left here. And I like to just create it without setting up where the middle is. And you can move this line either by using a guideline to measure out where the middle of this card is going to be. So it should be 4.75. And that would be like about here. Should be about here. Or what I like to do is you select this score line, go to the top, and change the X coordinates to 4.75, which is where the middle for my rectangle is going to be. Make sure Y is 0. And then you could also just, while you're here, make sure the height is 4.75 to match the height of the card. And now your score line is right in the middle of the card where the fold, you want the fold to be. And now before we move on to making the envelope, first I'd like to get the score line and move it to its own separate layer. So you can create a new layer going up to the top, hit Add Layer, and then name this Score Lines. Select the score line, go back up to Layer, go down to Move Selection to Layer, and move it to Score Lines. So now this is your card, and we're done with it for now, so we can move it off to the side, just off the page that we're going to work on. Now we can go ahead and get started on our envelope. So we're going to make a new rectangle or square. Hit the Select tool, and now the measurement for this envelope is going to be just slightly bigger than what our final card is going to be. So I personally like to make my envelope about 0.25 inches bigger. So I add 0.25 to the width and the height, and which makes this square here 5 by 5. So I go to the top, change the width to 5, and change the height to 5. And then also the x and y coordinates are going to be 0. So I choose 0.25 increase to the height and width, just because for me it seems to be just big enough for my card to fit and have some wiggle room without being too tight or crushed. But if your card is thicker or your own personal preference, you can always make this bigger. It's up to you and more for your preference, and you could just play around with how big you want this envelope to be. But if you're just doing a basic card, adding 0.25 is perfectly fine for me. So now that we have the base of our square, you're going to, you can, if you go see on the side here, I created this under the score lines layer, which is, nope, shouldn't belong there. So you can make sure to move that in layer 1. But we are going to duplicate this. And this duplicated one actually is going to be the score line. So you can move this duplicated. And if you didn't see to duplicate, you could just right click the square rectangle and hit duplicate. You can also go through the edit on the toolbar and hit duplicate. So with the duplicated square, I'm going to go to layer and move selection to the score line. So this is where the envelope's going to have the folds. And I suggest also to lock it. So in the objects box, you see a little lock, and you just hit that. And now this won't be able to be edited while you work on making the rest of this envelope. Now select the original square that we have, and you're going to create the path. So at the top you hit path, go object to path, and now when you go to this edit the nodes tool here, you'll see nodes at the corners of this square. Select all of these nodes and hit the insert new nodes at the top. And now you have new nodes on the sides, and these are the ones that we're going to be editing. But before we do that, this is where we're going to make some guidelines to how far we're actually going to pull these nodes out. You're going to pull the nodes out a little more than half of the width and the height of this square. So for the top and bottom guidelines, you're going to take the height of the square and divide it by 2. So since this is a 5 by 5, the height is 5, divide that by 2. So my first guideline is going to be 2.5 inches away from the top and 2.5 inches away from the bottom. So 1, 2.5. 1, 2 and a half. I think I did that right. 1, 2. Oh, there we go. And then the left and right guidelines, same thing, taking the width, which for our case is 5, divided by 2, and you get 2.5 from the left and the right sides. 2.5 be 2.5. Great. So these guidelines are now all 2.5 inches away from the sides. Now you'll take the first node and drag it just past the guideline. This will make sure that, okay, when you fold, this triangle down to the center, it will go past the center and overlap with the side at the bottom. And then that means you will be able to glue this down and it will hold together. So you do that on all sides. And I also suggest for like one of the sides, like the top, to pull it just a little extra long for just like mostly for aesthetic reasons. But then select that out. And now you have your envelope and your card. Simple as that. Go to Document Properties, hit the Resize Page to Content, Resize Page to Drawing or Selection, just to make sure it captures it all. And now you can save this as a SVG or PDF that you can print out or upload onto Cricut Design Space. And you have your own card and envelope. And then again, this is a great basic template to work off of to make your own card and make it more intricate, or you could add some stickers or other cutouts to it. And yep, so thank you for watching, and I hope you find this very useful. Please leave a comment if you have any questions or concerns or anything. Thank you.